am Glaucia Rosas, co-founder and director at the EduTech Alliance. In this series of interviews, I am talking with key figures on the international edutech scene to get their perspectives on how schools can really get themselves on track with their education technology. Hi everyone, today I am delighted to have with us Olli-Pekka Heineken. He's a true luminary in the field, known for his unwavering commitment to fostering global-mindedness, critical thinking, and holistic development in students around the world. He has a pivotal role as the Director General of the International Baccalaureate, the IB, an organization that stands as a beacon of excellence in education across continents. So in today's conversation, we will delve into the exciting crossroads of education technology, curriculum evolution, and the potential of artificial intelligence in education. So please join me in welcoming Olli-Pekka, a driving force behind the transformation of international education. So Olli, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Claudia. My pleasure to join.
Fabulous. Well, we will have like 6 questions today, and let's start with general questions about schools. So as we witness the profound impact of digital transformation in various industries, it's evident that schools must also evolve to equip students for the future. So how does the IB view the need for robust digital adaptation to equip the students for their journey ahead?
Yes, thank you. That's a question that we have done a lot of thinking at the IB, not only inside the organization, but a lot with our schools. Well, like we were just in a couple of months ago in Toronto, where the IB Americas region came together, and there we were discussing with the teachers, educators, heads, how they see this development. And we heard back from them that they were happy about the approach IB has taken, that we want to embrace artificial intelligence and the new technological possibilities that there are. I think there are kind of 2 ways that those technologies are impacting education. There's a kind of a direct impact how we utilize those technologies in teaching and learning. And then there is the kind of indirect impact, where we see that those technologies, as you said, are affecting different sectors, but also the society as a whole. And as education and learning is about the connection between the learner and the world, that if the world changes, also what is taught, what is assessed must change. And in that sense, I would say that maybe the indirect impact of new technology and artificial intelligence may be even bigger than the one that how we're utilizing those technologies in schools.
Yes, that's the million dollar questions, right? How do you? This is something ongoing. How to change and adapt. This is I think what the IB has been doing for such a long time, and that's maybe why it's so successful. On this still, so how do you envision technology shaping the future of the IB curriculum, and what role can digital transformation in schools play in enhancing the learning experience?
I think that the big changes that we will be experiencing in education and in curriculum will be the ones that we've kind of we went through an industrial era which had an impact on the way schooling is, for example, organized. Then the kind of information or knowledge society era, where it was actually the cognitive capacity of us humans that became central. And I think that created even a bit of a bias of overemphasize the kind of cognitive, or let's say kind of propositional, the kind of scientific way of knowing on top of other ways of knowing. And now we are seeing that artificial intelligence is capable of doing faster and gradually also more reliably that kind of cognitive task that has been central for us humans. And now is the question that, what is the new era for us? And I believe that it will be an interaction society, where the way that we interact as humans and understand deeply what it means to be human becomes central. And that means that we as humans have the unique capacity to understand what is relevant. And that's a kind of a capability that enables us to ask the right questions, do the prompts for the artificial intelligence or chat GPTs and other kind of applications. And that will remain kind of our task. The other thing is that make the ethical considerations to really understand the question that, utilizing the best possible evidence, what is it that is kind of ethically right to do? And then there is also the interesting question of understanding that what is kind of aesthetically valuable, what is beautiful in the world, what is something that really touches us as humans. And that's a very, very kind of a meaningful question for all of us. And maybe kind of that type of things become more and more important. One of the big challenges, the biggest challenge that I'm, as a risk of the new technology that I'm worried about, is that what does it mean to our capacity to understand what is true, what is real in the world, what has really happened? Because there are a lot of applications which touch the area of so-called deep fake. And as journalists have a harder time to understand whether what they can trust as evidence and kind of broadcast that to the larger audiences, it's the same challenge for each one of us. And therefore, the students need to have that capacity of kind of critical thinking, of kind of media literacy, of that type of curiosity and inquiring mind, that they are able to find out what is really true. And I think those are the areas where we will be seeing the biggest shifts in curriculums.
I think that's the first time in a conversation we do lots of interviews. I hear like curriculum change for understanding what is it to be human, because obviously we are going into like AI to a point that it's gonna, if you're not educated or you're not learn the difference, you might get confused. What is real? What's not real? What can I trust? and it can be so misleading if you don't actually have the right curriculum and the right education at home as well. I mean, this is so important that it's not about only updating the curriculum to make sure we understand technology and use it. It's a really ethical, kind of philosophical new phase for the curriculum, actually. So it must be a big redesign.
Definitely, that's how it is. And of course, it's also then the question that I think that artificial intelligence will speed up certain developments in society. And by speeding change, it also kind of increases, again, the complexity of our world. And when there's a lot of complexity in the world, it's very difficult to know what will happen next. Mm-hmm. So we cannot predict what are the challenges that our students are faced with. And therefore, the kind of intergenerational transfer task, which being the traditional role of education, there's still a need for that. But that's not enough.
Yes.
But we need to equip our students with the competencies that enable them to build their own future, to understand what is relevant for them, and then to be able to cope with kind of novelty. And we know that, for example, in kind of surprising situations, people who have creativity cope better. So creativity is one of the competencies that will be central in future.
Yes, no, that is true. I think this is what's made the IB curriculum stand out for so long, is that the fact that was always focusing on this, building this abilities and skills and abilities instead of content, which we can clearly see today. It's completely different. I mean, you wouldn't focus on any new curriculum would focus on content nowadays. I think while you were speaking, you kind of answered the next questions, but I'll make the questions so we can go deeper into the answers. So on ChatGPT, I mean, there are so many heads of schools and educators curious, but also very worried about it. And they're looking for answers and guides. So right after the ChatGPT came out, the IB clearly stated that AI technology will become part of our everyday lives, and therefore we need to adapt and transform our education programs and assessment practices so that the students can use AI ethically and effectively. But as generative AI becomes more prevalent in education, how do you see the IB adapting to ensure a balance between technology-driven learning and the development of these essential human skills, such as critical thinking and creativity, which is just mentioned?
Mm-hmm. I think we are still in the very early phase of this kind of innovation leap that we have now seen happening. And for that reason, I think it's valuable to understand that we need to engage in deep discussions about this. So I don't think it's right to expect that anyone would have the right answers what to do.
Yes.
And engaging in the discussions, I mean, then the discussions, for example, in schools, among all the teachers, to kind of share that what are their feelings about it, what are their fears about it, what are the possibilities that there might be, what are the good practices that they have found out. And not only among teachers, but do the same thing with students. Mm-hmm. I've kind of some of the best examples that I've seen in practice have been the ones where, for example, a teacher has in a way made ChatGPT as an extra student in the class. So in the same way that students are answering questions, sometimes ChatGPT is asked a question, and then it's kind of discussed among the students that what was in that answer? Was it kind of right or wrong? And were there certain problems with it? And also understanding that why did it answer the way it answered? What is the data that it used to make up that answer? And in that sense, kind of make it as an everyday tool. And again, like, for example, teachers to also use themselves as examples, that if they are using ChatGPT in preparation of their classes, that openly tell about it, that that's what I did, and I used it for these purposes, and kind of make it a natural thing, because the students are using it. We know that for a fact. And then it's really about kind of making sure that there are the ethical kind of principles in the discussions. There are the inclusivity, understanding that there are certain biases with the materials that ChatGPT, for example, is using, and those might not be very inclusive, making sure that the diversity is definitely there. And then the kind of what we already talked about, the critical thinking and kind of media literacy capabilities. And then to continue to be curious, that trying to find out that what are the next phases that will be happening. And I wouldn't mind that if we would see more collaboration and discussion between educators and also the technology developers, because when utilizing those technologies in schools, they must be embedded in the pedagogical solutions. That's the starting point that needs to be there.
Yeah, definitely. For any technology, it must be embedded in pedagogy. You touched on an interesting point, as it's so challenging for teachers, and what we see as we talk to schools is heads and teachers and students. It's more about playing with it and trying to learn from it and sharing experiences in order to build their own guidelines or their own ways of using it in the school. So it's a lot of trial and error at the moment, as it's very innovative, and we don't know if it's evolving too fast, and we don't know what's going to happen. So we see lots of people asking about it, but not many questions out there yet. On that, considering the ethical considerations that are crucial when using AI in education, is the IB, for instance, planning to issue policies, guidelines, or anything like that for schools as it evolves, or maybe not anything in that direction?
Well, we are definitely kind of course, following the development very carefully, and we've made some adjustments to our integrity policy. What comes to, for example, how to quote the use of AI or ChatGPT in essays. And we definitely are continuing to look at those questions and do the modifications, but rather than really regulating or creating policies, rather I would again encourage the discussions, the conversations around it, and also the sharing of the best practices, because I think those are still at the end the most useful ones. And for us as the IB, we do a lot of professional development, workshops, conferences. It's for sure that the AI and the new EdTech will be on top of those events for the years to come.
Yes, because so many people are curious and scared about it. It's worth helping them out. And I think we're going to our last question, which is in closing. So could you share a glimpse into your vision for the future of schooling and the role you believe the IB will play in shaping it?
The OECD created maybe 2 years ago 4 scenarios for schooling. Now, having had the possibility to visit different parts of the world and get engaged with different national, regional, private, international, public systems of education, I'm actually seeing that all of those 4 scenarios are becoming true in different parts of the world, in different phase, but still clearly we are receiving a more diversified reality of schooling. I think that we will see in many countries the kind of continuation and expansion of the current dominant model of schools as kind of physical institution with national curriculums, maybe extended in a way that there is also in many countries decisions made where you increase the number of years that students are staying in school, starting earlier and maybe staying a bit later. That's what we are seeing. Then there is clearly a model which is a very kind of technology-driven model, which is kind of learn on the go, that you pick up wherever you find the best content and the best kind of digital pedagogical solutions, and you kind of make up your own learning. In a way, homeschooling in many parts of the world are kind of adjusting to that type of a model. And then there is also a kind of a model where you kind of decentralize schooling, that schools become kind of centers for collaboration on the local level, where it's really strongly connected to the local needs and views and interaction with, for example, the organization of the working life, the employers, and kind of serving those needs. And again, that's a very, very, very different model. So I don't think there will be kind of one model. I do believe that we will be seeing a stronger integration of kind of traditional physical schooling and digital learning. Like we also at the IB, we are, for example, experimenting right now with kind of 3 different groups of schools, totally online diploma program. And that's kind of something that we want to see that what functions and what doesn't function. How to, for example, organize the lab courses in a digital world. How is it that if you have only worked online and you have paper and pen tests, does it kind of put those students in a different position? And of course, we are seeing the kind of future of the new possibilities for digital assessment also, that what kind of much more rich possibilities of evaluating the potential of students that can bring with it. So I think we are living exciting times when it comes to schooling. The one thing that I do believe that remains valuable is the human connection between the teacher and the student.
Yes.
That's kind of so valuable. And if we can also use the new technology, the free time of the teachers to really concentrate on understanding and knowing their students and spending time with them to learn together, I think then we have had a huge accomplishment by the technology.
Definitely. I know good examples of, I mean, if you, I do support a school in the Amazon where they don't have, they wouldn't have great teachers unless we did digital education. And another example is, don't know if you're familiar with the school in Salalah, which is kind of a sister school of the school in Oman, and they do the IB as well digitally, and it's remote areas I think would benefit the most.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
This is excellent. I think I took a lot of your time today, and I wanted to thank you for that. This wonderful interview, great information, and I'm sure it's going to help many school leaders and educators. So thank you so much again for participating and for sharing all of that.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, and thank you for the great work you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.